Bell rings. I go outside. I throw up again. I come back in and like, you want to quit? And I said, no, sir. They said, okay, 5 more minutes. Like, wonderful, wonderful. And I proceeded to get the absolute hell beat out of me for 5 more minutes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk. This is the place where we have uncomfortable conversations while wearing the world's most comfortable underwear. We're picking back up with part 2 of Eli Coffey's story, which has just been a wild ride. And I just hope that this has helped you, giving you guys some perspective. You were saying that you had met some guys who were doing jujitsu. You had started going to a gym, and you're like, oh my God, like I got to be around these guys.
Like, I seen them and they were big and strong and they trained, they trained at the same gym that I went to. And, big guys. And then they did jujitsu and, mixed martial arts and so on. So I was like, I really want to be a part of this, So, and I would ask them at different times, about, I'd work out next to them. Like, It's like, okay, well, if they're doing this, I'm going to do whatever's close to it. I hope they'll talk to me.
You kind of like getting next to them and try to basically play like you're not copying them, but
right. Yeah. And, and by this point I'd kind of started to notice that I had pretty good natural strength. So, even for a kid, I was lifting pretty good amounts and, that they had made a comment about it. We started talking and then they started letting me lift with them a little bit here and there. And then I would, ask them all the time, can I come train with you? And they didn't necessarily have a gym that they trained at. They would train at a facility out of our community, but they would meet together at one of their homes and train. They had mats there in the garage and they would train. And that was not uncommon back then, you hear people say they had, like they talk about the Gracie garages and so on. People would, get together and train and so on.
So what, is that like the term for them? Gracie garages? Is that like the term for one of those?
You just hear people back like years and years ago, like you'd have people who like one person had like a little bit of jiu-jitsu knowledge or something. Some friends would meet because God, you think like 20, 30 years ago, jiu-jitsu wasn't mainstream and MMA wasn't either. So like, it's not like you could just find an MMA gym or a jiu-jitsu gym and just go to it.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times guys that had some experience would train with each other and they'd have mats in their garage or something.
Okay. So is the term Gracie garage?
I've heard people say, but I can't say that it's a term.
Okay.
It's just something because like back, Chris, God, what is his name? Chris, he's one of the Dirty Dozen. He's one of like the first 12 American black belts, but he still trains in his garage and he's like a legend. But, but anyway, they finally invited me to come down and train, and they had like these old thin mats that would be laid on concrete in the garage, and so there wasn't a whole lot of forgiveness there when you hit those mats.
Yeah, good encouragement not to get taken
right. Oh yeah. But I remember thinking, okay, I'm here. This is great. Now I can, and that proceeded for me just to get absolutely crushed, and I mean they. And some of the, and it's so much healthier now. It's such a better atmosphere now. But, back then it was almost like you kind of had to, as weird as it sounds, sometimes you kind of had to earn your place to learn even. And because like, they weren't doing it for, they didn't have a school that they had, enrollment people were paying. So it's kind of like you're a body to train with. So here I am, this, big kid. And, but yeah, man. And, so I just proceeded to absolutely just get my butt handed to me. And I'm over there just aching, just beat up. And they said, "Are you coming back next week?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And
now that's interesting because like, I just want to pause, like the body to train with thing. That's because I've done a little bit of jujitsu, and when you come up against somebody who just like doesn't know anything, you're like, man, well, what's the point of this? Like, and they need to really try. Like they need to really try to get out of it so that you can learn how to like keep them in it, in the holds. And so just this idea of this man, this freaking kid coming in, it doesn't know anything. It's like, what's the point of you even being here?
Right. Well, there was a few people that would come and go, and and back then a lot of times the training was almost the same as a fight. Like not a lot of people took an educated direction to it. You know, it's not like a lot of people were considering their diet or considering strength training, or even the fact that, well, if we beat the hell out of each other constantly, then we're not going to be 100% or even close for a fight. So,
yeah.
so the training itself was almost like a fight a lot of times. And, but yeah, and they asked me if I was coming back the next week, and I said, yes, sir. And so many people had said that and then just absolutely avoided it at all costs. Like, I'm not coming back. And, but I did. And I thought, okay, great. You know, like now they'll
How did
start
you get
teaching
there,
me.
by the
This is
way?
awesome. By now I was driving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And so, yeah, they gave me their address. I showed up at their house, and I'm probably 18, maybe 17, 18. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm back the second time now. You know, I've showed them I'm gonna hang in there.
All right.
No, it was the same thing again. And so, so this happens like for several weeks. And I want to say the third week, third or fourth week I was there. Instead of on a Wednesday, they're like, you know, some of us are getting together on Sunday to train. If you want to come down, it's okay. And another gentleman. So back then there was not a lot of organizations. So you had, you know, in Japan you had Pancrase, which was a big deal and it paid really well. And then you had Pride after that. And here in the States you had UFC. But like as far as like feeder federations and so on, it wasn't like now where you have like the Dana White Competitor Series and all these things and a lot of, you know, really good, you know, amateur and pro MMA circuits that lead to bigger affiliates. But there was one called King of the Cage, and it was pro fighters, and it would be on pay-per-view as well. And one of the guys was getting ready for a fight on pay-per-view at King of the Cage. Very accomplished martial artist and has done exceptionally well. So anyway, I get there, and they're like, you're going to go 5-minute rounds with him. And I was like, okay. No idea what that entailed.
Okay.
And I put gloves on, and so I remember just out of the gate, just crushes. I mean, just cracks me. My mouth, my nose are bleeding, and so I'm getting kicked. I'm getting taken down. And then, you know, finally 5 minutes is over. The bell rings. I go outside and I puke as hard as I can possibly puke. I am sick. I'm scared, and so I come back in, and they said, "You want to quit?" And I said, "No, sir." And they said, "Okay, you got five more minutes." And I said, "Okay."
All right.
I proceeded to get my ass kicked again for 5 more minutes, and bell rings. I go outside. I throw up again. I come back in, and like, "You want to quit?" And I said, "No, sir." They said, "Okay, 5 more minutes." Like, wonderful, wonderful. And I proceeded to get the absolute hell out of me for 5 more minutes, and then I go outside, and by now there's nothing left to throw up, so it's just like bile and everything. My throat's burning. Just dry heaving. And I come back in, and they said, you want to quit? And I said, "No, sir." He said, "All right, you want to go again?" And I said, "Yes, sir." They said, "Well, we're just doing 3 rounds. You can take your gloves off." And I was extremely happy about that too.
You're but, right.
But anyway, so after that, they began to kind of say, okay, well, this kid's too stupid to quit. So we'll start, you know, but started working with them some. And
so wait, I got to pause here. All right. I got to ask you to pause. So I have never done that. All right. I've never gotten punched in the face, thrown up 3 times and said, yeah, I'll have some more. Never done that. I've done grappling, done military combative stuff like that. Never done that. What drove you to keep saying yes?
I had a choice. So the violence that I'd been subject to that point in my life, I didn't have a choice.
Okay.
So here I did. You know, this was to a degree self-inflicted, but I had a choice. And it's like, okay, now I'm old enough that I can, you know, I don't have to do this. I don't have to, but this is an out for me. It's like, okay. And at that time, again, you got to remember, man, I'm still a teenager, and you know, I don't have a lot of, I mean, I've never seen the ocean. Like I've never been anywhere. I don't know much of anything. And, you know, coming from the situation I'd come from, it's like, okay, well here, I mean, this sucks, but at least in this, I have a say. I get to pick. You know, if I don't want to get punched in the face, I don't have to. You know, I didn't have that choice in my younger life prior to that. So it's like, and two, honestly, I was scared to quit because I thought, I can remember that same feeling. And I thought, well, if I quit here, then, it's going to be that same feeling when I get home, when I look in the
Mm,
mirror, and
mm, okay.
I'm not going to like myself. And so, yeah, I mean, like I would be scared to death, like, but at the same time, it's like that, that feels better than what I had come up in. And
Mm,
at least here I have a say. Like at any point I could quit
mm-hmm,
at any point. Um, but for me, I thought, this could be my ticket to get out of this situation. This could be my ticket to get out of this area.
okay.
This could be my ticket to something better. And, and it's something that I'd wanted to do for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm,
For me, it's like, okay, well, if this is the price I have to pay for, you know, becoming what it is I want to become, or at
mm-hmm,
least getting closer to it,
mm-hmm.
then okay, all right, I'll do it. I'll bite down on my mouthpiece and tuck my chin and see what happens. And so yeah, that's as simply as I can put it. It's like, this, even though this sucks, and but at least it was something I had a choice in,
Mm-hmm.
for
You had a
anything else in
choice,
life up to that point.
and it's for your betterment. Like, yeah, you can
That's
see that.
that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
um, and then I began to train some, and I began to compete some, and those gentlemen became family to me, and I looked up to them so much, and I'd have done anything in the world for them. Because to me they had given me something that I had no other access to,
Mm-hmm. And how
and
old are they, by the way? These guys, this group of guys, about?
one is about 10 years older than me, and then the other is about 20 years older than me.
Okay, so they can
Yeah,
they can easily be like older brother figures, and
very
maybe the
much so.
20-year-old
Yeah,
one, like you, that could be like your dad kind of
yeah,
age.
they were very much so. And then the younger one, his father even was very, very much he didn't train, but he was very much you know, someone that I looked up to. And then they were taking me to these places. They were taking me to fights. They were taking me, and I was meeting new people. And,
Mm,
I got to be a part of something that I was proud of, instead of from an area or from a family or something that I wasn't.
mm,
And so again, it was something that for the first time in my life I could take pride in. Even if I was just a kid and I was the guy that they beat the heck out of or something else, or I wasn't the best guy on the team or whatever
mhm,
else, at least I was part of it, and I was part of something. And, so it was the first time that I felt proud to be a part of something,
mhm.
and, to work with people that I admired and looked up to.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so that was the thing. And for me, like I was 100%, in. I was like, okay, whatever this entails.
Mhm,
And so I'd done that for a long period of time, and so now I'm into my 20s, and I had torn my hamstring in a fight, um, and like it was a sport jujitsu
mhm,
competition. So like back then you had like combat jujitsu, and it's almost like MMA in a gi. And I had, for whatever reason, my hamstring felt a little tight, and um, I threw a combo and a leg kick, and I felt something click in the back of my leg,
mm, okay.
and my hamstring had torn. Like it actually, and I had to fight after that. It was like a tournament setting, and the hamstring actually had torn and rolled up to my glute. So like
Oh, yeah,
I've still got like a lump of scarring in
yeah.
in my hamstring. But that led to about maybe 2 months after that, um, I severed my ACL prepping for another fight or competition.
Now, is that so? Was
And
it on the same leg? It was because you were like trying to
yeah,
compensate.
yeah, well, it created such an imbalance.
Mm,
And I was young and didn't know to go see a doctor. And I thought, oh, it'll heal, it's fine. And nobody else knew as much either. So,
yeah.
uh, but I so that led to me severing my ACL. So then I began to lose some weight. I'd worked to finally get in pretty good shape, and at that time, compared to my earlier life, I was in pretty good shape. I started to kind of see a little bit of abs, and
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to feel better about myself, and I'm lifting weights and I'm training, and so I start trying to lift weights a little more seriously at that point, and build back that tissue. And the goal is to continue, um, to get back and try to continue and fight and so on. Um, and during that period of time, one of the gentlemen that I look up to a great deal, we had a really bad falling out to where something had happened that um, bothered me enough that I had to cut ties.
Okay.
And so that was extremely hard for me, because it's like, these are the people that I felt like had gotten me to that point in life. And, um, so to have to walk away from that was like, okay, well, now I finally have a family. And now I'm having to leave that because of certain things.
Yeah. And
So
can you answer, so just a clarifying question. So you said you're in your 20s. Where are you living at this point?
So at that point, in between that, so there was different things that happened in between that. I didn't know exactly how much into detail you wanted me to go, but so I'm still living close to that area. At that time, I'm living in Somerset, which is just north of where I grew up in McCrae County. But Somerset's a little bit bigger area, not by much, but
I've been there.
Yeah. And but I'm living there now. And prior to that, I had lived for about a year in Florida. I took a job there, and I trained there too, and trained MMA at a gym in southern Florida, and trained with a bunch of great guys there, and was able to come away with some stuff from that, and had a great experience. Was there working on a contract. It was after Katrina had hit.
Okay.
So yes, I'm like 20 years old, and I'm working as a maintenance tech for FEMA.
Okay.
Through that, so I got
That's
to.
how you're bringing money in the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so at that point, let's see. So whenever I tore the ACL, I had, let's see, at the time I didn't have insurance. So I had to switch jobs and get a job with insurance. So I went like a year without my ACL being repaired.
Yeah.
So I lost a lot of muscle. And that's why the lifting became so important. It's like, once I got it fixed, it's like, I really got to get back.
Yeah.
Now that I can move, I got to get back and get stronger and try to get back to a better shape where I can actually move better, feel stronger, and so on. But after all that happened, and I kind of had to cut ties, I began to focus more on bodybuilding and lifting, because I thought, well, that's something that I don't have to have a training partner for.
Yeah.
I can lift weights on my own. So.
Can I just I just want to highlight something, because I've been through this too, by the way, like cutting ties. Kind of going back to that, this when you're young and you meet somebody who you really respect, and then you realize, oh shoot, like there's some problems, and you try to address those problems, or you try to work through them, you do what you can, but that moment of cutting ties feels just like straight up death. Like you're like,
yeah,
like what am I going to do now? Maybe you're, obviously your situation is different from mine. But I know that
no,
feeling.
you're correct in saying that. You're correct in saying that, because like when you lose someone to death, you don't see them no more, and they're out of your life. And especially if it's a situation where it was like a sudden thing, then it's like, okay, well, I was talking to them yesterday, everything was cool, now today they're gone, you know and that's kind of what it feels like sometimes, in those situations. It's like, you get so close to somebody, and you're pretty much living with them, or you're around them all the time, or whatever, and then something happens, and now, like, it's it changes your life. It changes your relationships and a lot of things, especially when, you know, all that entails so many other people that now you don't see either.
Wow. So it wasn't just oh, I got to be away from this person. It's like, I got to be away from all these people.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Because, yeah, so, and they all seem to be doing well, and I'm very happy for them. And a lot I have actually been able to, talk to and have, have relationships with many of them, and thankful for that. But, it's, I don't harbor any animosity to anybody or anything else. It's just, but yeah, in some cases, things like that happen.
Yeah.
I guess at the end of the day, we all have to do what we feel is right for us, and so on. So, and some things you can, be okay with, some things you can't. And, so everybody has to have essentially that line,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then from there, that's when it was almost like I'd kind of almost pulled away from martial arts and stuff as much and began just really focusing more on the lifting and
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And had met a lady, and she and I began a relationship, and we moved. And I was living in Alabama, and I trained some there with a jujitsu gym there, and then some boxing and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at that time, it wasn't quite the same for me, but um, I had continued to lift weights, and I was enjoying that, and I was starting to actually work toward creating a career with training and everything, because I realized that's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people, and so I was actually getting ready for a powerlifting event that was hosted at the gym that I was at, and so I was going to lift in the 198 weight class,
Okay.
and so full power
Maybe
and
maybe
powerlifting.
explain that just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So powerlifting, consists of three events: squat, bench press, and deadlift. And there are variations on that. Like if you like for me, I couldn't squat because of my joint issues,
Okay.
which is something that I haven't went into much yet, but we certainly can. But anyway, at that point, my shoulders had already started losing range of motion, so I couldn't actually hold a straight bar on my shoulders.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, but I could straighten my arm in that frontal plane, so I could bench press and I could deadlift. So
What's your
I was
current max?
current
Yeah.
or best ever current.
Okay.
So
Best ever
yeah,
then current.
um, so currently I'm not maxed on anything. So, um, and I didn't know exactly how close you wanted to stick to the timeline, so I hadn't said much about the surgeries and
Just
so on.
quick, just want a quick number, and we'll get back to the story. I just wanted to know.
So best bench press in competition, I benched just over 5 raw. Um,
Oh gosh.
um,
Okay.
with a pause, my best bench is 525 with a pause.
Daggum.
In elbow sleeves, my best bench was 545. My best deadlift was 7. Um, and I didn't deadlift in competition during that time
Okay.
as much. So I've not pulled that in competition. There's a big difference. So anybody lifting that competes, I want to make sure that lift was done in the gym between bodybuilding shows. So,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and then
Please
my
return to the
best,
story. But I wanted to hear those.
yeah, yeah. Um, my squat was a little better than my deadlift, though. I just
Oh
throw
yeah.
that
Sorry.
out there.
Sorry. Yeah. What's your
Oh no,
squat?
no, no. So my best squat, um, I had to use a safety bar because I couldn't hold a straight bar. With sleeves, was around 7, and then with wraps was closer to around 750.
Okay.
Yeah,
God bless you, sir. That's a
but
lot.
um, my training partner did much more at the
Uh-huh.
time. He's a wonderful guy. I love him to death. But but yeah, so I began working toward that, and I'd never done one at that point, so it was all new ground to me. But I had lost something that I competed in, so I wanted to compete in something. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I still had that urge. I wanted to compete, um, and because I enjoy that. Like there's something weird, about like there's a big difference, like in doing something and then doing something in a competitive setting, like
Mm-hmm.
the nervousness, the nerves,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's like nothing else matters. It's like I don't care how much you've done in the gym. I don't care how many of your training partners you've tapped out or whatever. Whenever the lights come on and it's a competition, it's like okay,
Mm-hmm.
now here it is. Here's everything, all or nothing. It changes things so much, and like you know it's that unsettled feeling, that
Mm-hmm.
that nerves. And for me that was something that I really missed. So it's like I want this in my life somehow or another. I just enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, here's something I can do, for the time being at least. And it gets canceled. I was like, well, that sucks. There wasn't enough entries in it, and I didn't know anything about it. So it's not like I looked for other options. They said they were having it at the gym I worked at, so it's like, okay, I'm in. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And then my the lady that I was with, she was like, well, have you thought about bodybuilding? And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I have no desire to do that. And besides, I can't pose for it anyway because I'd already begin to lose external rotation in my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I can't do those bicep shots and stuff anyway. She's like, well, these guys aren't posing, and she shows me on her phone. And that year they'd come out with a men's physique class.
Mm-hmm.
And in men's physique, you wear board shorts and you don't have to do any overhead posing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe. No, maybe. Well, there's one coming up that's pretty close. You know, it's because I was in Enterprise, Alabama, and you know, and this was in Mobile, and
okay. I've been in Mobile.
Yeah, beautiful city.
Yeah.
And but so I thought, well, okay. And she's looking, and she's like, well, they're having some sort of seminar there for the show, and it's like a posing seminar and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm sure you can learn some there and see what it's about. See if you want to do it or not. I was like, okay. So I show up, I go to the seminar, and had already been adjusting a little bit, and I was, you know, in my mind at that time, I thought I was pretty lean, you know. Yeah. What we deem impressive says a lot about what we know on a subject, you know.
Wow, and that's a good one. Hang that on your wall.
Very, very much. So what I thought lean then, I don't now, and you know what I used to think strong then, I don't now. So, you know, that's the thing is a lot of times what we find impressive is very telling of our understanding of a particular subject. But so anyway, I go to the seminar. And this gentleman, he is the promoter of the gym, or of the show, and he owns a private gym in Mobile.
You know what?
And
I think we got to pause. Like, I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, all right, let's pause. That's a really good, like, right before the show. Love it. So we're gonna pause right there, okay? So guys back at home, we got to pause for that right now. We're gonna come back with the show that Eli goes to. All right. We hope that you've really enjoyed this episode. We're going to come back for part 3. This might be a 4-parter. Like, honestly, I don't know. This is a really awesome story. So we love you guys. We hope to see you next time. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Come back and see us. We'll see you next time.